call the meeting to order. Do we have a second?
Second.
Let's go.
Okay.
So tonight,
Actually, I'm not sure you need to ask for a vote to start the meeting. You can just call it.
call it.
Yep.
Excellent.
Who is going to be your secretary tonight?
If you all, I will try to take notes on our recording our votes too, but if we all just double check that
Okay.
we've got it, I've got a document
just-
started
All right,
here
whatever
to,
we can do to help
yeah.
Madam
that we've
Chairperson.
got helping,
It has a nice ring to it, doesn't it, Masha?
Yeah, great.
good, so we have pretty much two agendas.
Before we start,
Yes,
let me give you the results of the CPC meeting from this morning.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Off the,
absolutely.
So to speak.
because that's gonna affect some of our articles tonight.
We,
Right.
Sorry to interrupt, I just wanted to say hello.
well,
Hey,
hi,
oh, this is Mary Sullivan.
Marshall Jesperson.
She,
Very nice to meet you.
Mary is
Marshall.
a candidate for selectman. She's going to sit in the meeting because she wants to absorb all of the
Frank Rimley.
Hi, Frank. Very nice to
intellectual
meet you.
content of
Thank
this
you.
room.
Erica
Erica
Very
Jacobson.
nice to meet you.
Marshall Jesperson, if I,
Okay, and you
May
can,
I?
you sit over there.
All right.
Sure.
We're delighted to have you.
Thank you.
It's a public and open meeting.
Yes.
Really?
You are
And
the
I am the
first-
public.
You are the
First
public.
visitor in only 10 years.
you're the first vision, right, I think you are really.
No, it-
That's how one learns.
Yeah.
And I'm all about learning.
Okay, so back to the meeting.
First, CPC update.
CPC update, we voted to approve the purchase of a tractor. It was the 3079R,
The 41K was?
41K, yeah.
Yep, it's on the-
more
This is Article
expensive,
5.
yeah, the more expensive tractor we decided was in fact better because it had two power takeoffs, it had a cab, could be used during the winter time for not that much more money. All the implements fit on both tractors, but the more expensive one had a center power takeoff, and so to use a belly mower, which is gives a better cut for all of the fields it would do. It's not only for Mansfield, but it's, you know, upper and lower green, the rest of the fields that can be done with it, as well as the
So it
stuff
can
over the
convert to a
school.
snow blower also?
We can put a snow blower on the front of it, which is another reason to get the one that had the center PTO, because with the back PTO, which is what I have on my tractor, I have a snow blower, but you can only go backwards.
Right, right. Yeah,
So-
that makes it.
So does that change that's the 41,
It's the 41.
okay, so that's Article 5 on the STM.
Then we also did an examination of the property on Morgan Avenue. And while that was not a sort of the straight capital planning committee vote, in other words, we didn't rate it. The capital planning committee voted 4-0 in favor of obtaining the property. We took a look at the valuations on the property and the cost of the property and the amount that was owed on the property. The amount that was owed is $275,000. The price is $295,000. That gives $20,000 for the operations of the fire company.
Contingency for other,
Going into the
Right.
air kitty.
so it's 290?
295.
295.
Okay.
That's Article 9.
And we looked at the valuation on the property. The valuation on the property is just shy of $900,000. So $300,000 for $900,000 doesn't seem like a real hard thing to swallow for the town. So that was approved. Those were the only two action items we had before us in the CPC.
Okay.
And now we're
Great,
ready to go through the
thank
articles.
you. So that, what's the Morgan,
That's the fire station.
yeah, I know it's the fire station, just looking for the article number.
Article
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 9
9
on
of the STM.
STM.
Yep.
Okay. Alright. I just know that we've changed, I know we've all been through,
Mhm.
that we have a working I have an extra copy.
Yeah, I've got an extra copy.
I have an extra
Oh,
copy
great.
if you wanna take a look. This is that's the annual, the STM, I only have the copies we have in front of us right now. But that'll be the second document.
We'll be through the STM.
We'll be through the
Special
STM
town
very
meeting
quick.
in very short order.
Yes. Yes, our primary objective and only item on our agenda tonight is to review the STM and ATM, the special town meeting and the annual town meeting warrant, to go through and take our votes from the finance committee on recommend or not recommend any of the articles that have financial implication to the town. Ones that do not have a financial implication to the town, we will the town, and just for our reminder and for anyone who's watching this, if you think that we go through this in a precise manner tonight, is that this is our third meeting in 3 weeks to review these. We've met once as a committee on our own to talk about questions. We obtained answers from our town administrator, and just Jean and I were there for that. We shared that information with the committee as part of the joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen last week, where there was a lot of discussion on all of the articles. And then tonight is our meeting ourselves with quorum of 4 to vote to recommend or not on these.
And the votes, just to reiterate, will record as positive, abstentions, negative.
Yes.
So it's gonna be a three number.
3 numbers always, yep. So, we'll start in with the special town meeting. And Article 1, this number has been updated by Tracy. This is the vote of transferring 32,000, which would be the highest it would probably be, from snow and ice to the road repair account. This is a way to take money from that savings this year and put it right back into.
I'll move that we recommend favorable action.
Second.
Well, actually, I think our procedure is we recommend a vote, then we go recommends, abstentions, negative.
I think we have to move the motion, get a second, discussion, then vote.
Okay.
I think that would probably
Yep.
be the normal.
Okay. So,
Yeah, I just second if that makes a difference.
yep,
Okay.
okay, now
Okay.
discussion.
Our discussion,
I don't think there is
I
any. Okay,
think we can vote.
yeah,
All in favor of recommending
Aye.
Article 1?
Aye.
All right,
4-0-0.
well, that's good.
Article
Board
2
of Selectmen was 5-0-0.
is the see the town vote transfer sum of $6,070 from free cash for 4 gas meters. That was clarified that these are handheld devices that they use
For VOC,
to
volatile.
VOC, yeah, it has a
Yeah,
variety of
that's
things,
right.
and we were wondering if it was like a gas meter that went on the building at one point,
Right,
so
right,
this was definitely gave a little more clarification, so
I'll move the motion.
Second?
any discussion on it?
No, you just clarified what it was, I forgot it was handheld meters, so, pretty expensive handheld meters, so.
Well, the reason they're so expensive is they do a number of different gases.
Oh,
It's not just carbon monoxide, but if you miss carbon monoxide, are there other explosive vapors?
And the calibration is probably parts per million, which,
Oh,
I
no,
mean,
it's higher.
is it parts per
Yeah.
billion? Is it
No,
better?
no, it's the other way, because you're looking for stuff that's explosive. Parts per million is not explosive.
Well, what it is, it gives you a reading, that it'll get down to parts per million, and then it could be 10,000 parts per million, which will give you the concentration, but that's where the cost usually comes in on these, is that calibration down to that minute amount of,
Sensitivity.
yeah,
Right.
calibration's expensive.
All in favor of recommending?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0-0.
by the way, the finance committee usually has 7 people, but 3 can't be here tonight, so we're operating.
We just
on quorum.
squeaked through on a quorum.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
exactly.
We're operating at lightning speed with very little discussion.
Hey,
It minimizes discussion anyway.
Two of our most vociferous people aren't here, so that's a break for us all.
So Article 3, these are fiscal year bills from 2015 that came in after the close of the year. Comcast, Steve's Tree Service, Staples and Night Oil.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote to approve, recommend, vote to recommend.
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
0. Article 4 is the transfer of sums from 10,000 from DPW wages to property-related services amount. This was in regards to the cleaning that was expanded to over the course of the year, and the money was not originally allocated into the property services account, and that's something that will be.
Move to approve.
Second.
Excellent. Any discussion? Vote to recommend.
Aye.
Aye.
4-0-0.
Article 5, this is the one,
This is the tractor article.
tractor. So this was, now this
CPC
has
recommends?
been, CPC recommends,
CPC, right.
yes.
I move the motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
No. I think it's pretty clear, I guess we need it for DPW.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more than just Manthrew Field, so it's gonna
But-
have.
It is, it's, yeah,
broad-
it's definitely a town, going to be a town asset to be used in various locations through the town, so, vote to recommend.
Aye.
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 Okay.
Article 6 is, this is the vote to transfer the sum of $150,000 from free cash to pay expenses in relocating town hall to a leased facility. This is not the lease payment itself, this is the actual moving of the networking primarily, but also furniture, all of the other things that will go into moving.
Furnitures, fixtures, and equipment.
Yep.
Yeah, there's no facility, well, we should, I guess, I move to approve. That we discussed.
Yes, discuss.
Okay, so,
Okay, I guess there's no specific facility in mind yet, is that right?
That is
Or just budgeting?
so this is really a placeholder for funds if when.
This is up, this is up, we approve this up to this amount. If they don't use any of it,
Right.
it's fine. If they use it,
Close
but we
to
have to
that.
establish the budget.
And it has to
Ceiling.
be done because the trailers are out of here,
During
according,
this fiscal year.
during this fiscal year, yeah, they're gonna be, getting pulled out, so it's gonna be, the plan is to move the entire town hall offices, all the personnel, to another location, police move up, except for the command center, I guess, and then we go from there.
I'm assuming that there was a break, they had a rationale how that 150 came together at the Board of Selectmen or?
Yes, Tracy had those numbers, it's primarily, the biggest bulk of that is the networking of getting everything over to a new facility.
It seems
And-
very high on its face for.
It is very high on its face, and the reason it's very high on its face
Well,
is
75 of it is for a move too,
Yeah.
I think.
we didn't know,
We're not moving to California though, we're moving to.
anytime you put it on a truck and take it off the truck, where the truck goes is not as material as the two ends. So anyway, but yes, it's, and it's meant to exceed what they will need. So, yes, it is high. But better to have it high and not need it than have it too low and get caught and not be able to pay
They can
for it.
always come back to the Finance Committee for a reserve fund transfer.
Those finance committee guys are tighter than, never mind.
Right. So, the only concern I have is, this move actually is contingent on a vote in the fall, right?
No,
No,
It's
No.
not?
no,
Nope.
the trailer issue is separate from the municipal building committee's recommendations or any action on that, because and I'm gonna forget the name of it, architectural, Tracy, what's the name of the group that's the state level that's involved in why we cannot have the trailers passed?
The Architectural Access Board.
Well, but the 150,000 that's budgeted here,
Good afternoon. Good
placeholder
evening.
How are you?
is, it's pretty expensive for just moving police and Board of Health and.
It's moving
No,
the
it's
entire
everybody.
town
The
hall.
whole town hall.
Everybody who works for
Even
town
if we're
hall.
not gonna replace town hall, we're gonna move.
Move.
Yes.
Everything moves.
We all move over there, they move upstairs.
So the police are going to be vacating their space downstairs, if I understand this correctly. Because of their networking needs, they're moving up in, which will then displace everybody.
But we still need a polling, a vote by the town to approve, you know.
Well, I think
No,
what we're gonna
it's-
see is
we
you're gonna
could-
have,
And a vote of town meeting too, don't we?
We're gonna be voting
well, this money is gonna be voted by town meeting. We're just going to recommend, not recommend that this one, Article 6 is obviously going before town meeting for all the moves. You don't have the lease, we don't
The
have a
lease-
lease number yet, do
the
we?
lease
Or-
number.
Is that in the,
Yeah, the lease number
okay, is that in
is-
the ATM, not the STM?
The lease number's
That's in the ATM,
in the
yes.
ATM, and it's in the general budget, correct?
So town meeting will be approving either one of these, or whatever action they decide to do. We're just making our recommendation.
Okay, but
And it's a timing issue as well, in the fact that we can't wait for the town to take action on what the long-term plan is. Short-term, by July 1, the trailers have to be gone, so those people alone have to move. Also, it's the time to move, the police have to move up, everybody else has to move. So regardless, there won't be any action on what's gonna happen.
I think that the sentiment for moving this forward is really due to the fact that even if we were to get an affirmative vote in the fall,
We're
you know,
still,
we're still 3 to 5 years before we have
Yeah,
a
you're-
completed building, so,
Right.
you know, the letters are starting to come from the police association about health concerns, and yeah, it's starting to amp up, and, you know, you can get a little frustrated with it sometimes, but when you think about it, they've been dealing with this for 15 years, it's, you know, time has come.
I don't think there's any question on the need.
Yeah.
It was just 150 to move.
It
Seems like we
was-
could be buying everyone brand new furniture, having it delivered and set up for,
Moving in and out,
Yep.
so 2 moves. It was networking was one of the expensive pieces. I think it was estimated at over 60,000. Any furniture, fixtures, we were gonna be on 2 separate floors, so we'd need another copier contract. We were talking about
it's a
doing that.
not to exceed amount anyway.
It's a not to exceed amount, and, you know, it would also include moving us back, as well as hiring a moving company. We're not gonna have the DPW do it like we've done in the past.
okay, well, I'm certainly not against it, I'm just trying to figure out chicken and the egg here.
Okay.
You know, I guess this is in anticipation of, and plus we have the trailers we've gotta be moved.
But we have
The
an
budget for
action
the
we have to
trailers.
take
Re-
July 1, which is to vacate the trailers and to provide some sort of relief for a police station. And this is the global plan that's being presented.
This figure doesn't include moving the trailers, does it? Is that a separate?
Moving the trailers?
Yeah, right, we have to
They'll
get rid
go
of the
back, we're
trailers, right?
leasing them.
The leasing company will take them.
Oh, they'll take
Yeah,
it
they'll
back?
take them back. And we already have funding for the removal and demolition of the,
yeah, we did that
yeah,
last
last time.
STM.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, we got funding to get rid of them, but
Right.
it was easier to wait to get them out than the cost was higher if we had to try to get them out now.
Cut
Over.
'em out and
Over.
take them in pieces.
Yeah, take them in pieces over the building.
Yep.
So, any more discussion on this, or move to
Move to vote.
vote,
We've already-
voting and
Aye.
to recommend?
Aye.
400.
Number 00, yes. Article 7 is transfer sum of 2,500 from tax title and foreclosures to the postage account to basically make sure that they're keeping up, they have one postage account and.
I'll move the article.
Second?
All set?
Yep.
Vote?
Yes.
Aye.
400.
Article 8 is a sum of $650.68, overlay surplus to the 2010 overlay account.
I'd move.
Second?
Any discussion?
No.
No.
I was going to say, these are the little ones usually when you ask for all the questions.
No.
How will you
$650.
substantiate
Let's
this?
move.
$650?
Vote to recommend?
Yes.
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 400.
Yes. Okay, Article 9, this is.
To reiterate, CPC approved this article and recommends it to
I'll
the
move the
Finance
motion.
Committee. Second?
Any discussion?
I think the
Well,
only
you-
discussion will be is, not on this, but it'll be procedurally, how we're going to present this and who's going to, it's may generate some questions, and I think we're gonna get some answers.
I'm sure it will.
Mm-hmm.
The-
You had summarized from our last meeting a bunch of questions on Article 9.
Yep,
Have they been answered?
I believe we answered them last week when
Okay.
we at the Board of Selectmen meeting. Do you want to list them off and we can double check our answers on them?
I think, Marshall, that would, at your last
Well,
meeting, there was no action by CPC.
That's
as of
correct.
yet.
Yeah, but so it has been acted on now.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
been your recommendation.
CPC's recommended.
CPC wants to see an itemized balance sheet of assets and debts.
We did see that this morning.
Okay, and you're okay
That's
with that?
part of our records, and we're okay with that. In fact, just to reiterate for our record,
Mm-hmm.
debts on this property amount to $275,000. The cost is $295,000. $20,000 will go into the operating fund for the fire company to take care of any contingencies, and so they have something left in their operating fund. We looked at the appraisal sheets from the town for the lots, and the summation of the lots comes up to a value of real estate and buildings only, excluding equipment, of just shy of $900,000, $899,000 and change. We looked at that and said, we are getting a good deal for this property. The property has passed the 21E, the environmental survey, phase 1, so there is no other phase recommended. And so that was the sum and substance of what we found at this morning's meeting and any documentation that was provided.
Okay, one of the questions that actually was brought up last week was what about the rumor that it was originally going to be purchased for $1 if they abandoned the
I
property?
think Tracy has, I
Wait
think
a
Tracy.
minute, I can do this
Oh,
one.
good.
Okay, I did this one at the town meeting.
Oh, that's right, you did.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, we purchased it for $1. For $1, you get all of the assets and liabilities. Essentially, what we did is paid off the liabilities.
Okay,
And so, if we got it, if it was asset rich, we would have been that much better, but we have no control over that. The agreement, and I think it, I've never seen it, but I've heard it lots of times, is we can buy them for $1, but then we have to settle out the balance sheet so that comes to a zero.
Newbury
amount.
folklore, I think. is
Yeah,
really
It,
the-
I couldn't find it in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
documents.
And so anyway, except for putting $20,000, or leaving $20,000 in their operating account, we have gotten it for a zero cash flow, basically.
okay.
I mean, we really all owe gratitude and debt to our fire companies for the millions of dollars they've saved us over the history of their storied, careers. And here's another perfect example. We're buying well over $1 million worth of assets, and we're just paying the debt. And as a benevolent company, they could decide to close their doors, sell all their assets, and then have this money to use for their benevolent purpose, which could be, whatever they choose. But as always, they kept our best interest at heart.
Well, at the meeting, it was actually questioned whether or not that dollar agreement exists.
Yeah.
Nobody could recall where it's written down or, where it's,
If we only got the Larkin Dam under a similar type of deal.
Yes, indeed. Okay,
I think you need a vote to see.
Yeah, any other? I think we are good to vote. All in favor of recommending?
Aye.
400. The one thing that has bothered me, however, with some of this stuff, is that it comes up so close to town meeting, that we're scrambling for some big stuff.
Yeah.
I know.
That's government at all levels, and I think we do it much better than the state and federal government.
Article 10 is Board of Selectmen,
Yeah, we
and it's a
don't,
land, this is a will of the town, we
Yeah.
don't weigh in on this.
okay,
Okay.
So, that,
so that's,
What that is on Plum Island, we have these boundary
right,
quagmires that it's swapping.
it's just it's a survey correction, that's
Yeah.
all it is.
Yeah. It's almost an annual, it shows up either at the ATM or STM.
so we're not gonna vote, we're just gonna.
nope, it's
Yeah,
just,
it's will of the
it's will of
town.
the town.
Okay.
Okay,
Nice
that's
job.
the STM.
Excellent. And on the ATM, the first two articles are not. Article 1 is opening and closing the polls. Article 2 is receiving the reports, which we will be making a report as part of that. Jean already submitted the letter that will be in the booklet, has already been submitted, and we'll be working on what we do for our report as well.
I seem to be missing
This
the front
page,
page. Or I'm just, Article 3, is your, doing our operating budget, right? And then
This one?
Oh, okay,
There you
okay,
go.
that's it, I'm sorry, I'm looking at it, I thought it was the,
You didn't shuffle your pages so much.
I, if you don't staple them, I'm just lost.
Yeah, I'm more and more the same way. I staple everything.
so,
So there's no, just curious, there's no changes on the terms or positions under Article 1, Tracy?
Nope.
So that's just a will of the town
this
vote
is will of the
anyhow,
town,
right?
yep, and Article 2 the same. Those are just that. We get into it with the appropriations, starting with Article 3, which is the general operating at 17,955,520.
Move to,
Move to,
I'll second.
excellent, any discussion? Tracy, has this been updated with the new Triton number?
It has not, for
Okay.
posting.
That's gonna be,
But what will happen is it'll get changed in the motion. When we,
okay,
okay, so this is what they'll see and then we'll change it to motion.
right.
right,
Right.
okay. And that's a number that's coming down, just so that
Yep,
anybody, this is where the budget can only go lower than this, it cannot be increased on the floor.
correct.
So this would be, are there any questions or discussion on this
Yeah,
before we?
I have one. Have you figured out that, per Larry's suggestion, that somebody be ready to address this for questions on the floor, particularly the fire budget?
It'd be the fire chief, I would
Fire
think,
chief?
would.
The fire budget will be addressed by the fire chief. Any of the individual line items would be addressed by the department manager. The Board of Selectmen, each member will be assigned the motions, and that member is supposed to, research and be well-versed in it. And then, I don't know, you guys usually assign,
I think we'll fill in as,
As
Yeah.
needed,
We
yeah.
did that the first time that Christopher was the moderator, but we haven't done it since.
We don't read them anymore, the selectmen read them.
the selectmen
and
read the
we-
motions, and
And then
We typically,
jump in
yeah,
Make
we
your
typically jump in
rationale.
and rationale.
I mean, certainly Marshall,
necessary.
you'll handle all the CPC questions.
Yeah.
Mhm. And I think that, and this is as it'll go through at town meeting, if anyone wants to put a hold from the town, they'll put a hold, and then they'll come back and discuss after all of it's been read.
Well, I'll be shocked if that fire budget doesn't get a hold on it.
I think you're gonna get a number,
Oh, yeah.
We always do.
depending on
I think last year it was
the tone of the meeting will be how much,
Well, I had a
how
question
spirited the debate becomes.
that I asked at the meeting last week, and the fire chief tried to answer it, but I didn't fully understand his answer. What is the $20,000 stipend, and why is that never existed before?
Very good question, and as their liaison, what they're doing now is,
None of the other departments have, I don't believe, have that kind of a.
well, because most of the departments have 24-hour coverage. What this does is, you are then on standby for a particular shift. So rather than having you sound the alarm and a pool of 10 people may or may not show up, there are people who have committed that on a certain night of the week or certain nights of the week. They are available to answer that call, and they get a small stipend to reserve them for that. Very, very common, actually.
And this came out of the consultant's reports
Right.
as well as, and it's partially, and also being used on a per person at certain positions. And those positions have to have their job descriptions on file with the town of what things are earning them these stipends. What are their responsibilities that would have to be a stipend? And this
So
is.
those stipends that we saw in one of the summaries of how the budget was put together, those are automatically paid?
Well, because you're basically,
Yes.
rather than have it a call fire department where that you may get 10 people or no people show up, this is a firm commitment where someone is saying, I'm going to commit to work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, second shift, or do they do 12s or 8s or
They do eights.
8s? And they're responsible, which means they really can't go out, they
Can't
really
go
have
out
to be.
and party hard?
No.
They're
Okay.
responsible, yeah, and the amount is that $20,000 is broken up between 9 different positions.
Right.
None of the stipends on an individual level go over $3,000.
I mean, for me, I think it's the next best thing to having a 24-hour department. It gives me a level of comfort that we have.
But we've never had this before. So how have we done the coverage before if there was no stipend?
We
You know what
did.
happens, I think, Frank, is that the dynamics of our community is changing. We're losing students, our residents are aging,
We're shrinking as a town.
and, well,
Population.
but in growth, we have new structures being added every day. And whether there's one person or 5 people in a home, that's an added burden that the fire department has to put into their system to be able to respond to with manpower and equipment. The dynamics are, your typical pickup truck, someone looking for kind of a second job, they really can't afford to live in our town anymore. And half of our call firemen probably come from out of town at this point.
I understand quite a few come
Yeah.
from Salisbury.
Right.
So to answer your question, it used to be that there were enough people around so that when the alarm went off, or when the buzzer went off in somebody's house, which was how things worked, there would be people who would respond. This says, now rather than having, as you say, 1 person or 10 people, there's a guarantee that somebody is on that and on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but it's an extra $20,000 a year. That is the difference. And the difference is, I think this recognizes part of the transition of the fire companies to fire department.
Absolutely. It's all coming together. It's
Yeah.
it's what has been coming since the town voted to make a municipal fire department. That this is heading down that path a little
Oh,
bit
it is,
further,
yeah.
and it's been, not decided by individuals within the companies or within, just based on a whim or some sort of bargaining this year. It was based on outside resources and pegging to other towns that are in similar situations.
But I think the end result is we are now getting better coverage because we've actually secured commitments of availability rather than having, you may not have anybody show
Well,
up.
apparently it's already been negotiated because there's a whole list
Mhm.
of positions and who gets what.
That's the budget proposal.
That's the proposal.
Yeah, that's the proposal.
Yeah, well, and also, apparently, according to the paper today, there's already been a study done of the fire department and staffing and a coverage and so forth. We
Yes.
haven't seen that. We haven't had a
That was,
presentation of
the
that.
board of, the, Jean has seen it, it has information in it that is for the eyes of the board of selectmen and the fire department. It's not something that the finance committee was deemed that it was information that would be pertinent to us.
I mean, it would
Now,
certainly be
But it has
available if
financial-
you.
Major financial implications if it gets into
I
staffing.
mean, I
and
certainly
coverage.
any record of the town is available to the finance committee if
If
you'd
we
like,
wanna
if
see
you'd
it,
like
but
it,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I had sent out, the fire department had done, when they did their preliminary budget and submitted to Tracy, they did a very detailed spreadsheet of existing, proposed, and then the rationale of why there was a variance, whether it was up or down, but in great detail, which I thought it answered my questions. In the past, we need 40 grand, not singling out the fire department, and that's all we just needed. This was a very detailed, and I think I had sent that to you, Frank.
Was that this?
That
Uh,
was part of it.
Okay.
Yeah, it,
This
it was
Mary-
very
Mary-
detailed, it was the best
Mary said it.
presentation
I have never
I've
seen it,
from
it's
the
the
fire
best
department.
I've ever seen, so.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but it's a 30% increase of our operating, of their operating budget. And that's gonna raise eyebrows.
No, I mean, I think that,
And we have another article in the ATM as well later on that basically abolishes the Board of Fire Engineers.
so
Yes.
let's take these in order, because we're never gonna get through this.
Yeah, but they both go together, really.
No, I
No, they don't.
understand,
The
but,
budget, the decision on the later article has no impact on the budget decision. And the impact of the sale of that building has no impact on this budget decision.
Yeah, well, I
They're all-
agree with that, but I'm not sure how the other two are separated. I mean, they go together because it's the future of the fire department. And decisions you made on the structure of the fire department will affect the budget. And also the study that's been done. I mean, well, I mean, it's just, I'd like to see that.
I think you certainly can get
Jean
it.
has it,
Yep.
or has seen a copy of it. I'm not
He
sure.
has it,
Yep.
yep.
Why hasn't he shared it with us? I mean, it's a major financial issue. and we're
But I
the-
think,
we're the
Frank,
Board of-
in all fairness to Gene, this is the first time that it's been brought up and there's been a request that, and I think it's a good request, so let's just get it to you and you'll have it.
And there'll be an additional study coming as
Yeah.
well for the one on all
It
the
was,
apparatus.
this was the
management.
operational
This was the
management,
management, and I think
Yeah.
that was part of it, is that there were
Yeah.
personnel
Yeah.
and management issues that were also included in that as part of financial.
in
So
our
it's always that,
budget book
that's-
here, when you go down, I forget what tab it was, but actually having the detail of all of the apparatus and pitches
Yes.
and conditions, under, what is it?
Capital planning.
Capital planning. As long as I've been sitting in this committee, I've never seen anything prepared to this level. This is a lot of good work, and it identifies everything that we have, including the fire apparatus.
Well, it's never
I'm
been
sure
done before, yet we've
There
survived all
there are
these
going
years.
to be a lot of questions
Yeah.
on this, guaranteed, and these will be held, and we will have to talk to these, and talk to them moderately intelligently at the annual town meeting, for sure.
Well, I certainly don't feel qualified to address this at all. I guess Nate's gonna address it, if
Yes.
questions come.
yes,
And, you know, that'd help us if Larry addresses it.
I actually
But
had
he
talked
brought
to
up some
Larry,
good- He brought up some good points in our
You
meeting
brought up
last
some
week.
I had
But
talked to
if
Larry,
Larry's
that-
gonna address this, bring a sandwich.
I had talked to Larry the next day, and I apologize for not being at the meeting, I was sick. But you get a whole different perspective watching on TV. And Larry's questions were all very good questions, and he qualified each one of them that he was in support of what was going on, but he was, if we don't get this information out,
Yep.
we're gonna have a fiasco.
He's right.
And,
Well, his whole point, and I have to agree with it, it's, you know, and he's got a lot more, he's a lot closer and got more interest in fire than I have, although I appreciate the fire.
is Larry on that call list? Is he gonna be on standby for our, you gonna reactivate Larry?
But in any case, he raised some really good questions, and his major point was that there's a whole segment of town that's gonna be shocked by this. And they haven't had a chance to really assimilate it and understand it. And it's gonna be a major change, and it's all just gonna be fired at town meeting to them. So, you know, I mean, you know, we've been talking about how the fire company needs to be transformed and a changing business model, but we've never talked in detail at all about what that means and what's it mean about staffing and budgets and so forth. Can we expect a 30% increase every year?
I don't think that's what we can expect. I think that what we're looking at is that we are undergoing the major shift now. You aren't likely to see a shift of this caliber again because we are working on that backlog of maintenance and getting up to speed on to where we need to be. So it'll be catch up and then as we're ongoing. But I do think that I think that Nate's gonna be perfectly capable of answering the questions as it is his department. I think that the budget itself, Article 3 that we're talking about here, has been satisfied to that they requested a budget, just like every other department, to meet the needs that they need to operate for this town and to meet our needs. They requested a lot, but we had to work with, as we say, we work with what we have. You know, not everybody, I'm sure if the library wanted to request, I mean, after a few years, you get a sense of what is the level of service. In order to provide the level of service in Newbury and Byfield that we need, this is the budget numbers that were agreed to under the management of how it will be done. And we don't question if someone has, 2 people out in plow trucks or 1.5 people out in plow trucks. I mean, I think we need to let our managers who we're paying have some semblance of that to get a sense.
We have to always be vigilant on our oversight, but not get into the weeds and micromanaging.
Exactly.
And but I think as a community, we have to recognize the fact that legislation could change tomorrow, and you're required to have a 24/7. A 724 fire department. Newburyport pays over $2 million in wages alone for 2 fire stations. Our total operating budget is less than half of that.
What do we pay for the fire budget for 2 stations?
The town of Newbury, the
Newbury.
city of
Newburyport.
Newburyport, which is
Newburyport, okay.
724, their payroll to man those 2 stations is over $2 million. Then add
I
capital.
frankly don't want to use that as a model because they've been rampant with nepotism forever.
But again, I think it just shows you how well our private companies have been.
Yeah,
Have been
it's
working, but we
and
do
that's why
need
it's
to.
such a significant change now, and why we need to understand where we're headed and what the business plan is going to be to get there. I mean, I'm not surprised that we'll be increasing the budget, and it'll be $1 million department pretty soon. It's always been about 500,000 to 600,000, but it's now going to be $1 million, and that's a major change, and people need to digest that and understand it in order to accept it.
That'll be part of town meeting.
Yeah, the breakdown and the rationale for each one of those changes is very detailed. And if I didn't send it to you, I will. I had gotten that before. I think I had gotten that last Monday, and I had sent it off to Gene. And I don't know if did he?
I got one
And then
set.
I was sick. I would have brought it with me, but when you review it, it has great detail. So the fire chief or whoever speaks for the fire department will be able to articulate exactly why those changes are recommended. It's that specific, Frank.
Yeah, well, I'm concerned because of the recent vote involving the firehouse and how that was rejected by the
It
voters
was
for the
rejected
second
at-
time.
at a 51-49% vote, so remember
It
that
doesn't matter.
50-50
This could hurt
is-
us in the future, in my opinion. This could hurt us to get that new fire station.
Well, we're not getting a new fire station. We're still at that, considering, at least my understanding, is a new, some sort of municipal building for police in town hall.
Well, as you.
Whether it's new, or new renovation, addition. The fire company, I mean, the voters made it, our constituents made it clear back in October. They recognized the need for a new police station, police facilities, and they thought that if you were going to do it, having a combined facility on this site because of its proximity and sewer, the supermajority of the people present supported that. But everyone made it clear that they weren't willing to invest any money, any further money at that point to incorporate renovating the fire station.
Oh, did you see Eric sent out today a summary of his most recent presentation with the options on it? And his first option was a separate police station in
That's-
town hall.
the-
It was
that's a-
$11.5 million.
All he did was inventory all of the proposals for reference.
Okay,
Yes. Yes,
But
and those,
we have to listen to our constituents, and they made it pretty clear at that meeting. And I actually went back and watched it again on YouTube because it was a recorded meeting. And
okay.
it was quite clear what the consensus
And you're
was.
confident that they speak for the whole town, all the voters?
We have never had 100 people show up for anything.
Oh, true, but it's only 100 people too.
But 100 people that I think that started out, Frank, that 60% of them were against the municipal building complex.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I think we kind of whittled down one by one what everyone reached,
I was at the
agreed to.
meeting.
You know what
I
I'm
recall
saying,
what
so.
happened, yeah, and it was a positive ending, if you can consider it a positive ending.
Mhm.
But
I
it
think
was a
that-
contentious meeting too.
that we do need to move back to the matter at hand tonight, which is Article 3. And it is a lump sum budget, we don't get to line item.
Madam Chair, you
approve or
have
not. I would like
you have
to
a-
vote
It's
to,
been moved and seconded.
yep,
Yep,
do you wanna vote?
I do.
Vote to recommend?
Aye.
All right, 4-0.
See, that's why we should have spent more time on that $650 article, because of,
Well, it's, this is where we know that stuff is gonna come up.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We need to be
And-
prepared for it.
And Tracy.
Actually, you need to be prepared for it. I'm gonna be in New York.
Okay, well, I certainly,
I think,
up
unless
to
something
speed on
happens and I
that.
get kicked out of that.
But I mean, here,
Particular.
this is how prepared the town is. Well, I mean, on this book here, and the content of it, a tremendous amount of work and data and effort went into it.
Let's move on to
Well,
Article
Yes,
4.
Article 4 is the $100,000 to be added stabilization.
Move.
This-
Second.
Any discussion?
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
400. Yeah, this is one that we voted and I love this.
Good practice.
It's
Yes.
great practice.
Exactly. Article 5 is raise and appropriate 25,000 to the other post-employment benefits.
I'll move.
That is our,
Second.
remember, liability that is looming, so.
Yep.
Vote to recommend? Aye.
400. You recommend?
Yeah.
Okay.
Article 6 is a sum of $140,620 from stabilization to repair and replace the Newbury Elementary School sidewalks and curbing. This, I believe, has been approved by CPC,
It has?
and it is, as a reminder to anybody who does not know, but in this room we are well versed that the Newbury Elementary School building is the town's, and this is a town related. Any discussion?
Just a question, Marshall, is any of this added work, added scope to the original
No.
system replacement? So it's just, this is just coming on,
Yep, take it
It's-
out,
it's
replace
time.
it, put it
But
back.
was this part of your original projection? Your
that's what
capital
Marshall
plan?
just said, yeah, that it was
Oh,
part of
okay.
the original
Okay.
systems replacement
Yep.
scope.
Okay.
So we have a move
So we
and
have to move.
second?
Vote to approve?
Aye?
Aye.
Who, you moved?
Yep.
Who seconded? I'm just writing this down for her.
I'll second.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And you voted aye.
Yes, that's 400.
Who was watching?
Article 7 is the sum of 17,950 from stabilization to replace the windows on the Byfield Grange building. CPC has,
Recommended
Mhm.
and sent a letter to the selectmen recommending that at the renewal of the lease, we take a look at having them be responsible for all repairs and capital improvements.
excellent, good information on
I'll
that.
move the motion.
Second?
Any further discussion? Vote to recommend?
Aye.
This was less than the last estimate we got for
Yes,
that,
it
right?
is.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Vote to recommend?
Aye.
Aye.
400.
Article 8, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of 100,000 from free cash to continue the catch basin repair program. This has also been CPC,
Move to recommend.
absolutely.
I'll second it.
And yes, this is part of an ongoing program to catch up with catch basin repair. This is gonna come up again next year, but maybe not for $100,000 next year. We may be
Okay,
getting close to
okay,
that.
excellent. Vote to recommend?
Aye.
Aye.
400.
Excellent. Article 9 is sum of 15,450 from the stabilization fund to purchase a sander replacement.
CPC recommends.
I'll second.
Any
Yeah.
discussion?
This is, we're actually getting a stainless steel one this time, should last a little, somewhat longer. Those are really, they take a beating though.
That's probably the item that got the most use this winter.
Yeah.
So
Vote
it's-
to recommend?
Aye.
Aye. Article 10 is another capital, and this is the sum
Dump
of $196,955 to purchase a dump truck. And this has been through CPC.
It has been through CPC, approved by CPC. I move to recommend.
Absolutely.
I'll second.
Does this include the plows and
Yep. We
everything?
have plows, wing plow, that whole thing.
Okay.
Excellent.
Sadly, this is what it costs to buy a truck.
I
It-
know it.
Unbelievable. You see what the cost of the fire truck is?
Vote to recommend?
Aye.
Aye.
Gotta keep our roads clear.
Article 11 is the vote to transfer a sum of $175,000 from free cash to allow the town to lease space for town hall operations. This is a separate article. This is now on the ATM. This is what has been based on, this has not gone out to bid yet because money must be appropriated before it can be bid. But they have received quotes, and this is for an annual lease large enough to house all town hall operations.
This is 13 you're talking about, or is it?
11.
12?
Article
Oh,
11.
11, okay, I'm ahead of you, okay.
11.
Which is a grass break.
I've already recorded the vote, we haven't voted on it.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Any discussion on this?
That just goes through the whole competitive bid process and
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There has been a discussion, I've contacted the Inspector General's office to understand if it would qualify for an emergency procurement, because there was some concern about keeping our town hall in our town, rather than going out to a competitive bid and having to have, Newbury Town Hall with a Newburyport address or a Rowley address, or, so there was some concern about that, and they're gonna walk me through the steps, so it may qualify for that emergency procurement process.
I think it's important that if we're going to lease space, we should be leasing it from a taxpayer.
Makes perfect sense.
You have somebody in mind?
Absolutely.
No, but I mean, it would just be,
It's-
it'd be remiss if we had empty space that we could utilize and we're going to Rowley, because,
Well, I think my
Absolutely.
neighbor has something in mind.
Okay.
So, vote to recommend?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
400, okay.
Article 12 is the sum of $7,950 from the receipts reserved fire alarm account to repair the fire alarm system.
this is that reoccurring
Yes,
article.
this is
Just a
one.
transfer from
Yeah,
reserves
it's
to
to keep-
spending, okay.
Move
Yes.
the article?
Absolutely, vote to approve?
I'll second.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Now we're
Article
at
13, now we're at 13. This is to appropriate the sum of $93,000 from receipts reserved, receipts reserved.
Start reading these
I
now.
know, cable television, PEG Access Special Reserve Fund for the support of PEG Access Service and Programming. So this is, again,
So this covers the annual budget for Caleb and his crew?
Correct.
Yes.
The media committee's operating budget.
Okay. I'll move this article.
I'll
Second.
vote to recommend?
Aye.
Aye. Article 14 is, it's to appropriate the recreation revolving fund. And this is for the Newbury Rec Committee, and it has a spending limit of $50,000 during any fiscal year 2017. It allows, so why don't we take a
Move to vote.
Yeah, second.
discussion?
There was a question last week, and I don't know quite how it was resolved, but if they've still got a $50,000 budget with which they were using for mowing in the past. The question was, can the town charge the rec budget for that mowing?
We went over that this
Yes.
morning.
Wasn't that I think they have $67,000 or $70,000 in their account.
Yeah, right.
And we do this annual
Right now,
appropriation.
reserves, right.
Their whole operating budget is 50, which I think a fair amount of that is their irrigation maintenance and then fertilizing and items like that. And mowing was a separate line item.
Yep. We had this discussion this morning.
Okay.
Mowing was done by the town, then they took it over, now the town's gonna take it over. There should be some excess money in the $50,000, which is then going to be available as seed money to go into the building
To we get that
begin
completion.
To-
Yeah,
right.
completed, along with, and we talked about it, they are still going to be looking for outside funds to supplement that, to try and get that building moving in that direction. CPC discussed that this morning, and we're all good with it.
Good.
Okay. I think that's
Okay.
fair, as it's not,
For
we
last
don't need to
analysis,
get,
it's all going to the town.
it's all going to the
Yeah.
town, it's
Well,
all
What
the town.
about supplies, like fertilizer and
That gets,
seed and other
that
things?
gets purchased out of the revolving fund,
Yeah, it's
Okay.
all
Yes.
purchased out of the revolving fund.
yes,
Okay,
yeah, that's part of the
And one of
revolving
the
fund.
things that came up this morning was that the town can do this for cheaper than was being done by an outside contractor. And so we're gonna be money ahead and
Oh.
we can
Mm-hmm.
use some of that savings.
And I think we're preparing for that eventual day that you may not have a large tenant paying this kind of rent too. So
Right.
I think it's very prudent. probably.
like North Shore United.
Vote to recommend?
Yes?
Aye.
Aye. Article 15 is the Municipal Waterways Improvement and Maintenance Fund. This is again a revolving account in the Harbor Master for $50,000.
I'll move the motion.
Second?
Any discussion?
Who is the harbor master now?
I think police
Police
chief.
chief.
Chief
Is it
Riley.
police chief?
Riley.
Yep.
He's been the harbor master for the last couple of years.
Mhm.
Okay,
That's why I think they haven't been in the paper at all.
he carries his own gun, so he
Right.
don't have to ask for
Never
guns
mind.
anymore.
So
Let's
vote
vote
to
this
recommend?
Aye.
Aye.
Right,
Article 16 is a similar article and this is the enterprise account for the ambulance. So there is a detail of, it is a, the detail of salaries and wages, $113,182, expenses, $49,693, debt service, $22,083 for a total of $184,958. And from that, the departmental receipts were estimated at 200, or to be raised are 204,622.
I'll move the article.
Second?
Tracy, was that budget $204,662? Was that raised from existing revenues and expenses?
Projected
this year?
revenue.
Projected.
And this, now we have a year of history. This is the first year that we ran the program, so we feel more confident this year than we did last year with the numbers, and
Well,
the
it's great,
collections
you'll
are
even pick
coming
up the
in.
debt service, that's
Yep,
it.
exactly, and we're also
Right, so
gonna, pick up the costs that the town's incurring, so the cost for processing payroll, for doing the accounting, for paying those bills, those costs are gonna be, charged against the enterprise fund this year as well.
And the
So-
expenses, that's the consumables that they're using, and
Exactly.
So we'll be doing all the billing out of,
No, they use an outside billing agency,
Oh, they do?
Comstar
okay,
is the name, they just do ambulance billing, so.
okay.
you're talking about for payroll and all those other.
Payroll and bills payable and those types of things.
Actually, not to quibble, but it's only been in operation since last fall, right?
It has
We
been
approved it
in
at the fall town
operation.
meeting.
No, I believe we
I
did
think
it at the annual.
We did it at the
It was
annual. It was
Yeah, I
annual.
think it was, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was at.
Yeah, it started July 1.
Yeah, because it started with,
Yep.
the new account, the new fiscal year, yeah.
Okay.
Article 17.
Well, we have to take a vote
Sorry,
on
oh,
it.
vote, sorry.
Voted?
Vote to
Article
recommend.
16, recommend.
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, aye.
Okay. 17 and 18 are bylaws. And I don't think the stabilization, it's, 17 is Whittier to establish a stabilization fund. Do we need to
No.
recommend? No, that's the will of the town. And Article 18 is the.
Well, you know what, but let's look at that though. We're talking about a line item to create transfer available monies into a stabilization fund. So there certainly is monetary.
Yes.
It's like an excess and deficiency fund.
I mean,
Triton.
It makes.
Whittier does a stellar job. I think we should look at this, vote on it, and recommend it strongly.
You mean the finance committee should
Yeah,
vote on it?
yeah, it
It's.
doesn't
it's a-
have a direct financial benefit, but all of these, when they create these funds, they always want that indemnification from the three towns, which guarantees the debt that they're never going to use, but it still has some, similar to what they did when they did the roof. They replaced their roof with their reserves, but they still had to get all three towns to sign off on bonding
That's right.
the full amount, even though it didn't turn out to be any financial liability. But so I'll move the motion.
Second?
Second.
Vote to recommend?
Aye.
Aye.
So if they're still gonna charge us $16,666 per enrollee from Newbury though.
Yep.
Yep. Article 18 is bylaw change, and this is the provision,
That's will of the town.
and this is will of the town.
It is 8:05, and if I'm not mistaken, we have gone through all of our articles.
We have.
I
Is
spoke
there
to
anything
Gene
else,
earlier, I
Tracy,
told him we may have
that we,
a palace coup, and
If Gene and Larry were here, we'd still be on at 9 o'clock tonight.
Any other information we should be aware of prior to? I believe we have, I think Jean posted a meeting for next Tuesday night, just in case we
Prior to
need
the town meeting.
Or no, for next Tuesday night, which is
Oh, for
a
next
week.
Tuesday,
But
okay.
I'm not sure we're gonna keep it or not. I wanna talk to him when he'll be back tomorrow.
Good to have as a placeholder. Just
We have it as a placeholder and talk about, or if we want time to talk about, any presentation to be made
Mhm.
at town
Oh,
meeting.
actually, if you could send me your votes,
I'll
so I
send
can
you-
include them
Yeah,
in the
I have them right
booklet.
here.
And what else do you, are you planning on doing that report at the beginning of the booklet?
Jean's
Just
already
the
submitted
letter.
it.
Oh, he did?
Jean submitted it to Ellen last week.
Oh, he did?
Yes,
Okay.
he
Okay,
sent
great.
it out before he left town.
Excellent.
So that's already been, it's shorter, but it's in there, and it's just whether or not we want anything to present that night.
Super.
But we'll talk that through if we need it.
Right.
But
So he's not gonna circulate it to the finance committee.
no, he wrote it and submitted it, threw it by me for grammar edits. It's very similar to the letter Tracy had in the beginning of the book.
Do you have a copy of it there?
I do have it on.
Why don't we print it out, we'll review it.
I don't have access to the internet.
And Marshall, do you want the
But I can-
CPC report included in that booklet as well?
Yeah,
Or-
we can do that. I talked to Ellen, I have a deadline of Thursday.
Oh,
Yes, I know Gene was trying to get to Mississippi, so he was giving.
Do you know what Gene's doing in Mississippi? He's on this, like, I'm gonna call it the equivalent to, no, Habitat for Humanity.
Oh.
Yeah.
They're building, low moderate housing units.
Through the
Some-
church?
I'm not sure what it is, but the communities that are basically providing abandoned or tax title property, they're getting funding and they're building these 700 or 800 square foot housing units, and really impacting in a good way people's lives.
Sounds good.
I
Sounds like
spoke
it's
to him
coming
on-
through his church.
Spoke to him on Saturday, and he had, apparently on his first day there, he had cut his finger open and managed to get blood all over all the white cabinets that they were installing because he hadn't realized he had cut his hand. And the only reason we were talking about it was because I was supposed to call him at 11 and I was 15 minutes late because my husband cut his hand cutting sheetrock. And so I had to take 15 minutes to do
Nancy
the,
nurse?
basically, do you need to go get stitches? Do I need stitches? Do I not need stitches?
You get that little plastic welding gun, you put it on, you hit it with the
The-
laser
the-
light, and it just, you're done.
Well, we still had the staple gun from when our son had to have his head stapled earlier this year, so we thought about that, but we ended up just wrapping it and
You know
I
what's
thought
nice to have at home?
he was playing golf.
Is butterfly bandages.
I did place an order actually as he was doing it and I was raiding the Girl Scouts first aid kit in my office. I went onto Amazon and ordered myself a new 400 piece hanging on the wall first aid kit because of 2 kids and husband does home improvement projects. We should probably have one there.
It's funny, you have the big kit, but the thing you use the most, Band-Aids and butterfly bandages. Those 2 things, you know,
I keep
90% of your stuff.
I keep a roll of Corban in my car. It's an elastic,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, is it the elastic bandage?
Yeah, we
it's
call
in-
it vet wrap. We have it for,
and it
Yeah.
just,
yeah, it's good stuff.
you put a little Band-Aid on it and it's not gonna stay, you wrap that around, it kinda clings to itself, but it's not.
Yeah.
And it's like a big elastic, ace bandage.
Because every time I go, I cut last week I was cutting chicken and opened up my finger, and so every time I went to the gym, my thumb, that was where I did it. So every time I put a Band-Aid, then I'd wrap it in the white athletic tape, because I knew I'd bang it, and cut it open and on a barbell, so didn't need to be bleeding all over the barbells. So
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
adjourn.
That's it?